Hey everybody, Sean Holsinger here from Holsinger's Fly Shop. Today I'm bringing you a pheasant tail pattern. This one's called a Bubbleback Pheasant tail. It's got a bead in there, pretty simple fly. We're going to start it out on 1120 Daiichi scud hook. And for the bead, I'm going to use a multi-hued color bead, rainbow bead, 7/64. Okay, we're just going to slide that up on the hook. As always, you slide it through the small end. There's a fat end and the fat side is the back. The smaller side is the front, so it butts up against the eye there and doesn't pull through the eye. So we're just going to run our bead up on there. Like I said, 1120 Daiichi scud hook. And the next thing we're going to do is use 140 denier ultra thread in olive. I'm tying this with some Highlander green pheasant tail, so you might want to use like a tan if you're just using your regular pheasant tail. Lord knows I've got a lot of pheasant tail laying around with my bird dog with Jovi down here. We killed a fair amount of pheasants this year, so I'm always looking for something to use them up on. Next thing we're going to use is a piece of brassy wire. Just gold wire, size brassy. You can use whatever color you want there again too. If you want to put a chartreuse on this, give it a little different twist, that's good. Just going to go with gold. Going to tie it around the bend of the hook a little bit there. Next thing we're doing is putting on a piece of crystal flash. And we're just going to tie it in. This is going to be a ribbing, so just one piece right now. Okay, next thing I'm going to come in with is, like I said, my Highlander green pheasant tail. And I'm just going to cut off about 6 or 8 strands there. I cut it off right near the shaft of the feather. Okay, and then we're just going to line up. You see when you cut it off, they're all different lengths there. So just going to line up the tips, because the tips are going to make my tail on this fly. Okay, so line up all the tips. We're going to pinch them down. Now for the tail, the length of the tail, I'm going to make the length of the tail about half the length of the body. So I don't want it too long, but I want to get it back here to the bend. I want to wrap it down at the bend. So get them lined up a little bit better. Okay, find out where I want them to lay. Pinch it down. And like always, a loose wrap or two. Make sure you got it where you want it, and then come back and tight wrap it. Okay, then I'm just going to pull that back just a hair to get it back there to where I want to start. And we're going to bring this up about halfway. Now I'm just going to start wrapping this pheasant tail up. Oops, try to keep the fibers together. They're going to split on you a little bit, but what I like to do is pinch my finger on top to hold it down, to readjust my other fingers, to bring them underneath the hook. That works well for me. Okay, then I'm just going to hold them up straight in the air here, and we're going to tie them down. Okay, gonna get a few good wraps on this, and then we'll trim these off. Okay, now I'm going to, just for safety's sake, so this doesn't unwind, I am going to do a real quick whip finish here. Past experience has led me to do this. Sometimes whenever you come back in with this wire to make the ribbing, you'll bump your thread and it'll unwind, and then all your pheasant tails will unwind, so you don't want that to happen. Now with the ribbing, with pheasant tails, they're not the strongest fiber, so sometimes what you want to do to strengthen them a little bit, I wrapped forward with my pheasant tail, so I'm going to wrap backwards with my gold wire. So instead of wrapping over the top, I'm going to wrap underneath with my gold wire, so I wrap in an opposite direction. And I'm going to try to get a little bit of spacing here, a little bit more than I normally do, to put that piece of flash in there, and we're going to get about only about 3 or 4 wraps on it, which is totally fine. Okay, and then I'm just going to come up here and make a couple wraps up here. Get the flash out of the way. We're just going to tie this down. Okay, once we get that tied down, we'll just helicopter that wire off of there. Then we're going to come back in with the flash. We're going to go in between our gold. Just make a flashy rib through there. Okay, we'll tie it off. Okay, now to start the front of the fly. Okay, to do that, we're going to put our wing case down first. We're going to cut a few more strands of our pheasant off. This time, instead of tying it in by the tips, we're going to tie it in by the base of the pheasant fibers there. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to put my crystal flash on first. I'm going to take a couple strands of crystal flash, about 3 or 4, okay, and pull 3 or 4 out of here. No more than 4. And what we're going to do, this is going to be the legs on our fly and the flashy shell back here. Okay, so I'm just going to take, and I'm going to tie this in. Leave it hang pretty long, okay? We're just going to make a couple wraps. And then I'm going to take the crystal flash, and when I wrap that, it wrapped around my thread, no problem. Just give it a little tug. I'm going to pull it back over itself. And I'm going to wrap it back to that thread, to the gold ribbing there, okay? Now, you got all these back here out of the way. Now I'm going to add my pheasant tail fibers for the shell back. Trim them all off the same length. Put them down on top, behind the bead there, keeping them on the top of the fly. Don't want them to roll over the side here. Okay. Get them wrapped down. Now I'm going to come in with some peacock herl, and I'm going to take about 3 strands of peacock herl, and we'll tie them in by the butt. 1, 2, oh come on, 3. Okay, we're going to tie them in by the butt. We're going to trim off the butt ends. Tie them down here right behind the bead, and then we're just going to palmer this forward. 2. Making a couple wraps, and we're going to stop short of that bead, okay, because I need to pull that bead back. So we're just going to keep it loose in between the bead and the peacock herl. So get a couple good wraps there, tie this off. Make sure I got that good and secure there. Now I'm going to give my bead a push back. Okay, I want a little bit of gap between the bead and the eye there. And we're going to tie our pheasant tail in front of the bead. Alright, we're going to pull the shell back over. And we're going to pull it. I'm going to bring my thread in front of the bead first. Now I'm going to pull the pheasant tail over top the bead and tie it down. Alright, 3 or 4 good wraps there. And then maybe 1 or 2 in front of it. Trim it off. Trim it off there close as you can. Now we're going to bring our crystal flash over for the flash in our shell back. Alright, and keep it on top of those pheasant tail fibers. Keep it centered. We're just going to tie it down. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to pull 3 or 4 of the crystal flash to the one side. Oops. And then the other ones I'm going to pull to the other side. And I'm going to wrap these back to make the legs of the fly. I'm going to pull that pretty tight there to keep them in position. Okay. Then we're just going to whip finish this off. I'm going to pull those legs back out of the way, run my whip finish. Okay. And then we're going to trim off these legs to length. And about the length of the shell back is the length I want them legs. Like if you pull it back against the shell back there, that's about the length. You can see there I spun it over how far they go. See from the side. Okay, now I'm going to take just a little bit of my UV flow, or my UV thick I mean, and I'm going to go real lightly with this. I'm just going to make a protective covering on that shell back. Okay, just enough. I don't want it to be a big hump because I already got it humped up there a little bit with that bead and stuff. So I'm just going to put enough on there. Just hit that thread to lock the thread in place. And, you know, and to protect the pheasant tail fibers underneath it and the crystal flash. So just hit it with a little bit just to smooth it out. And that's all that's to this fly. Nice little pheasant tail pattern, just a different way to add some flash to it. I think you'll like that. You know, you like the looks of it and the effect it has on the water. So give this a try. All the materials you need to tie it, you can find at our shop at holsingersflyshop.com. And I hope you like this this nice little pattern here. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like us on YouTube and Facebook. Thanks again. I'm Sean Holsinger.